Trump has issued a fresh ultimatum to Iran, but his latest threat is already raising questions about whether he fully understands the technical limits. Trump now claims Iran's oil pipelines could explode from within in just 3 days, a dramatic warning that is likely to fuel more skepticism than fear. Iran, for its part, appears ready to mock the claim as exaggerated, especially as critics argue the blockade has not yet delivered the kind of crippling energy shock Trump keeps promising. And with millions of barrels of Iranian oil still reportedly moving despite the naval squeeze, the bigger question may be whether Trump's siege is springing leaks before his pressure campaign achieves its goal. US President Donald Trump has issued a fresh ultimatum to Iran, this time giving Tehran 3 days. Trump told Fox News that Iran now has 3 days before its oil pipelines explode from within. He also claimed there would be permanent damage to Iran's oil wells if oil flow is not restored. Donald Trump said, and I quote, "What happens is that line explodes from within. Both mechanically and in the earth. Something happens where it just explodes, and they say they only have about 3 days left before that happens. And when it explodes, you can never rebuild it the way it is. It's a very powerful thing that takes place sort of having to do with nature." Unquote. According to Trump, the ongoing US blockade would create catastrophic mechanical stress inside Iran's oil infrastructure. He further claimed that this pressure could trigger spontaneous explosions underground and within transport lines. However, energy experts say pipelines are typically equipped with safety valves and sensors designed to halt pumping before such failure spiral. They also note that if oil cannot move through the system, operators usually stop production at the source itself. That is why some experts believe Iran may still have roughly 2 to 3 months of inland storage before any forced production cut becomes necessary. Iran's vice president and head of the Strategic Energy Policy and Management Organization, Esmail Saghab Esfahani, has also reacted. Esfahani warned that Iran would retaliate against countries backing any damage to its oil sector. In a sharp response on X, he said, "Our math is different. 1 oil well equals 4 oil wells." Esmail Saghab Esfahani said, and I quote, "If any part of our infrastructure, including oil wells, is damaged as a result of a blockade, we guarantee that 4 times the damage will be inflicted on the same infrastructure in countries that support the aggressor. Our math is different. 1 oil well equals 4 oil wells." Unquote. Despite an intense US naval blockade on Iranian ports, new data suggests the strategy is far from airtight, with Tehran continuing to export oil in ways that undercut American pressure. The blockade, imposed on April 13th, was designed to choke off Iran's primary source of revenue by restricting ships going to and from Iranian ports, especially those carrying crude. However, evidence from satellite and tanker tracking platforms indicates that Iran has still been able to load and move significant volumes of crude oil even under the restrictions. Satellite-based maritime data showed that at least 4.6 million barrels of oil were loaded onto Iranian-linked vessels since the blockade went into effect, a figure that highlights the persistence of the export network. Roughly 4 million of those barrels reportedly crossed the blockade, according to tanker trackers, a sign that Iran is still punching holes in Washington's strategy and keeping vital revenue flowing. Reports from tanker tracking firm tankertrackers.com conclude that the blockade has disrupted but not halted Iran's oil activity, forcing traffic into more complex and opaque routes. Instead of a full shutdown, Tehran has adapted by using alternative shipping lanes and covert logistics chains to sustain its exports through third-country intermediaries and difficult-to-monitor transfers. Vessels linked to Iran have reportedly succeeded in bypassing US enforcement in the Strait of Hormuz region, according to a Wall Street Journal report on April 26, exposing gaps in the monitoring architecture. Experts say this pattern has underlined how difficult it is to fully seal off a vast and strategically critical waterway such as the Strait of Hormuz, even for a major naval power. Iran has also employed tactics such as disabling or manipulating ship tracking transponders, conducting ship-to-ship transfers at sea, and rerouting vessels through the Arabian Sea and Asian waters to evade detection. Analysts add that even when ships cannot leave the region, tankers can still be loaded with crude at Iranian ports and then later transferred at sea. Rather than a clear decisive victory, the situation has therefore evolved into a cat-and-mouse dynamic at sea, with Iran constantly adjusting its methods to keep exports moving. These developments came as President Trump announced that the US would use all its cards against Iran in the Hormuz zone.
We heard that we canceled the trip. We have all the cards. We're not going to spend 15 hours in airplanes all the time going back and forth to be giving a document that was not good enough. And so we'll deal by telephone, and they can call us anytime they want. Again, we have all the cards. They have no military left, practically. They have no leaders left. We don't know who the leaders are. Nobody knows who the leader. I don't think they know who the leaders are, very importantly. So you saw that. And any other questions?
Yes, sir. What have you heard from Pakistan? The Iran's foreign minister was in Pakistan yesterday night.
I think Pakistan is terrific. I think the field marshal is fantastic. I think the prime minister of Pakistan is great. And, you know, they'd like to see something happen. But we're not going to be traveling 15, 16 hours to have a meeting with people that nobody ever heard of.
What changed to make you make that decision?
Too much travel. When they say the meeting's scheduled for Tuesday, I said, Tuesday, that's a long time from now. But when you get right down to it, it's a lot of traveling. No, we don't want to do that.
At what point do you send Witkoff and Kushner and send Vice President Vance in? What point are you going to be ready?
They're all very competent, all three. Those are three good. But they weren't meeting with the leader of the country. They were meeting with other people. And I said, we're just not going to do it. Too much traveling, takes too long, too expensive. I'm a very cost-conscious person.
Mr. President, you said this week that you're not a fan of prediction markets and that they're turning the country into a casino. But at the same time,
Did you say I'm not?
That you're not a fan of prediction markets.
Well, I don't know. I know some people that are very smart. They like it. They disagree, but they like it. But what would you like to know? Who are you with?
I'm with Decrypt, a crypto-focused publication, and we also have a prediction market. And your administration is aggressively pushing to legalize these markets, and I was wondering if you potentially wanted to reconsider that policy.
A lot of other countries are doing it, and when the other countries do it, we get left out in the cold if we don't do it. So, but I know people that are in the prediction market business, and they're pretty.
On the Fed, sir? Crypto, what made you decide to go and attend this meme coin conference today?
It's a big industry, and we want to beat China at the industry. We're leading with crypto. We're leading with AI. And I really feel I have an obligation from this. As a president, I have to be able to make sure that all of our industries do well. Crypto is a big industry. It's become somewhat mainstream. The banks have it. People have it. And I think as the leader of the country, we want to lead in AI. And we're leading China by a lot in AI. And we're also leading in crypto.
Do you agree with the decision by Jeanine Pirro to drop the investigation into Jerome Powell?
Well, I want to find out. You know, it's not dropped. They're looking into the whole thing about.
Refer to the IG.
What I want to look at, with the IG. What I want to look at is how can a building that I could have done for $25 million cost $4 billion? That's a big thing, and he was in charge. So we'll get to the bottom of it. Yeah, I think Jeanine is fantastic. And she worked with other people on that. I tell you, I want to find out. I have an obligation to find out. This was done during Biden, but I have an obligation to find out I would have done that building for $25 million, had money left over, and it would have been open a long time ago.
Did you or your people ask her to drop it?
Because for the country, look, we have a railroad under construction in California. That's the worst thing I've ever seen under Gavin Newsom. And I want to find out why that one is costing 20 times what it was projected to cost. Likewise, the Fed building is a small. I built a hotel in Washington, the Waldorf Astoria. I built it for $201 million. And I believe it's bigger than the Fed building. And you have bathrooms, you have a lot of, it's much tougher, much more expensive to build a hotel than an office. I want to find out how can a building of that size cost for whatever it's going to be. Nobody knows, by the way, what it's going to be. Kevin is going to be fantastic. Kevin Walsh. He may never get to be in that building.
Is it smooth sailing for him now? Will Tillis drop his block?
I would imagine it's smooth, but whether it is or not, somebody has to find out why that building that should have cost $25 million is costing billions of dollars.
Sure, what else?
And you know why they have to find it out? For other buildings, because that's not the only one. I think that's the most egregious example.
What else caused you?
I'll deal with whoever's running the show. I'll deal with whoever runs the show. They don't know. They They are fighting with each other. There's tremendous infighting. They're probably fighting for leadership. In many cases, I think they're fighting not to be the leader because we knocked out 2 levels of leaders. But I'll deal with whoever we have to. But there's no reason to wait 2 days, have people traveling for 16, 17 hours. And we're not doing it that way. We'll do it when they want. They can call me. We have all the cards. We've won everything. We have all the cards.
Yesterday you said to Reuters that we're dealing with who is in charge now. What changed from yesterday to today?
Nothing. It's just that they gave us a paper that should have been better. And interestingly, immediately when I canceled it, within 10 minutes we got a new paper that was much better.
What was on that
you
paper,
tell
sir? What was? Can you explain?
We talked about they will not have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. Look, that whole deal is not complicated. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very
Did they
simple.
offer like
ceasefire
20
remaining?
years
Will you
on?
continue the ceasefire?
Haven't even thought about it.
Did they offer anything in return to 20 years of suspending enriched
They
uranium?
offered a lot.
What did
but
they offer?
They offered a lot, but not enough. Thank you.